Welcome back to the show. I am joined today by Coach Bob Kittle, head coach of the Cabrillo baseball team. Coach, you've been with Cabrillo for 13 years. Thank you for joining us today on the show. How have you been doing in these kind of wild times that we've been living in? What have you been up to over the last several months?
It's been pretty busy. I have 3 jobs, and they maintain a lot of time. They take a lot of time. So I've been on the computer a lot like everybody else. I've been on Zoom a lot like everybody else, and just trying to work smartly.
So, Coach, we were actually together for the very last baseball game that you guys played in the 2020 season when we traveled over to Ohlone. For our fans who are watching, it was a really surreal day because when we all piled into the cars, everything was still scheduled. The only thing that had been canceled nationally was the NBA. And by the time we got there, March Madness had been canceled. And then by the time first pitch came around, all of the tournaments had been canceled. Walk me through your thought process and like what you were going through that day and what that experience was like.
It was a pretty unique experience, and I actually really enjoyed the day. We were able to play an intercollegiate game with different circumstances, and I thought we did a great job. It was an incredible day for us. Just because the kids had no idea what was going on. We had no idea what was going on. And we played it like the last game of the year, which it turned out to be. And it was a unique experience as a coach and a player that we could end some careers on the field knowing that it was the last game no matter what. And it had the relationship portion of that was a great experience. I'll never forget that day. It was a great day.
In terms of the relationship that you built with your players this season versus the relationship you've built with your players in the past, do you think that this has changed like how you'll interact with next year's group of freshmen? Do you think that this will give you a deeper bond with the returning sophomores?
No, I mean, we never talk about bond or team chemistry. That's an organic action. And it always has been with our programs, and it changes with the personnel. So it usually is really good with our guys. And that's because it's organic. We just let it happen. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Now, the 3C2A, the California Community College Athletic Association, has been a springboard for several professional athletes in their path from amateurism to professional. The 49ers just drafted a former JUCO prospect out of California as their first-round wide receiver pick. Clayton Andrews was absolutely tearing up spring training before COVID-19 derailed his quest to be in the bigs this year. You have worked with several players who have gone on to become professional baseball players in the past. What do you think what is the difference between working with a Clayton Andrews and working with a player who may be playing baseball purely for the joy of the game, not necessarily as a career aspiration?
I mean, I think most of the guys at our level have a career aspiration. Is that realistic? No. But they do have an aspiration to continue to play. Obviously, the difference with Clayton is his athleticism. I mean, he can apply instruction and do things immediately and retain it. And that's really the key difference between the great ones and the ones that aren't as good. The ability to do things rapidly and not ever lose it, and retention. And Clayton's one of a kind.
You've had several professional athletes come through all of your different systems, whether it be at Santa Cruz High or here at Cabrillo. When you see a player who clearly has something that can get them to the next level, what is the number one thing that you think, what is your number one responsibility as a coach at that point? And how is your responsibility to that player unique?
I think my responsibility is to ensure that they honor their skill and their chance. Right. So there's not a lot of guys that have the ability to make it that far. So we try to go about it by ensuring that they respect their ability and then honor it by improving upon it and maximizing it. And that's our responsibility. They're already great athletes. They're going to be great athletes everywhere. It's just about respecting the ability and that internal work ethic and how you go about your day and how you treat people. Those are the important pieces.
In terms of your 2019-2020 team, how has COVID-19 directly impacted their day-to-day, other than the fact that you guys aren't allowed to participate in sports? What does their spring look like since people were no longer allowed to meet?
It's been pretty bored. I communicate with the guys at least weekly. We have a weekly Zoom, but I talk to guys on the side. and they're limited in what they can do. They can't lift in a gym. There's no partners to throw with. There's no BP in the cages. So I use an analogy. A guy named Dan Runsler, who pitched for the Giants in the 2010 World Series, he works out at our field in the offseason. He lives in SoCal. So he told me a story about Madison Bumgarner. They both came up together in the minors, and he said, "Mad, how do you prepare?" And he goes, "Well, I work on my farm, and I throw baseballs into a hay bale." That's all he's ever done. So it's actually applicable to this time, right? He found a way with his resources to get his work in. Now, he's a freak, but there's a way, and I think our guys are doing a good job with that.
What does it mean to have the spring session canceled? I mean, we know that players who participated in the sport this year will receive an extra year of eligibility. We understand that the NC2A and 3C, or the 3C2A, they're making adjustments to try and minimize the impact of this canceled season. How does it look in the record books? Is it an asterisk? Will there be a state champion in baseball this year?
There will not be a state champion, and I don't believe there'll be an asterisk either. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime deal, we hope. There's no all-league, there's no all-state, and there shouldn't be. I mean, it's an anomaly, so.
Now, anyone who's ever been on the Cabrillo campus knows that you, Coach Kittle, are always on the cutting edge of technology. You ride your Segway, right? And you get off your Segway, you hop onto your hover bike, and then you use your Google Glass to make phone calls. What has been the biggest challenge that you've run into in this new remote era of instruction, coaching, and teaching?
Well, honestly, it's been internet connection. I've been working on it all morning. I've been dropped from every Zoom meeting I've had. So we've been working on most of the stuff that we're using right now. So the transition has not been that difficult for me personally, but the internet connection.
Yeah, I think we're all starting to find out that our internet connections aren't quite as robust as we had thought they were.
Right.
Is there something that you miss more than anything else? I mean, I know as an avid baseball fan, as somebody who's been waking up at 2 a.m. to watch KBO on ESPN, for me, the thing that I miss the most is the sound of the ball snapping into the catcher's mitt. There's just that distinct pop that really, that I associate that with spring. I associate that sound with summer coming, and with those sounds not present, it's been kind of weird that we're in mid-May now. So what's been something that you found yourself really missing about the game, or about being a coach with the players or interacting as a coach with the players on a daily basis?
It's just being on the field and going through BP and having our time in baseball with a bunch of people. That's all I miss. And that's the best part. The best part's being on the field, guys hitting, laughing, having fun, playing a great game. That's what I miss.
Looking forward to next season, what is the long-term impact that this canceled year will have on recruiting? Do you anticipate seeing the same number of players transition onto the next level as you see usually? Or do you expect that turnover? Or do you think that the program will be more full of players who redshirted this year and come back to try again?
I think you're going to see number one's financial. And there's a lot of people that aren't going to be able to afford to move here. Cabrillo's really based about at least half of out-of-state or out-of-area guys. I think that's going to be our biggest impact. And we're going to have some returners that are going to struggle to come back as well because they're not going to be able to afford it with their parents losing jobs and what have you. So that's the first impact. The second impact is that this transition going to four-year colleges is going to be a 2-year, not just this year. It's going to be another year. Everything's full right now. It's going to be full next year. So you're going to see it's going to be tough. I think there's going to be a home for everybody still. It just may not be the desired home. It really squeezes the high school seniors. That's all right. It really squeezes the high school seniors and the guys that redshirted this year. The guys that redshirted this year have to compete against the same group that was here last year plus the recruits. So it's a tough go.
What can student athletes be doing at home right now to develop their skills? You already gave us a little insight into Madison Bumgarner throwing baseballs into a hay bale. Trevor Bauer and the Momentum Boys are on YouTube right now building fake mounds and setting up at safe distances away from each other in the desert to take live BP. What are some tips, drills, or techniques that you recommend to student athletes looking to improve their game?
Well, even throughout the year, we try to give them skills they can do on their own. So as a pitcher, you could replicate your mechanics and motion and dry drills every day. Takes 20 to 30 minutes. As a hitter, you can just swing the bat every day as long as you do it at the right tempo. You don't have to hit a ball. And throwing's the hardest, right? So they could do band work to keep their arms in shape, but you need a partner to throw with. So, and body weight. And I've sent them, they're on an online remote workout program that I have, and they get to choose. It's athletic performance and speed, and it's all for remote learning. So it just takes a lot of desire. And as I'm finding myself, as this progresses, the impetus and to do stuff starts waning a little. I don't know if you experience that, but it's like, Jesus, same thing today. And it takes a little special person to keep pushing.
Yeah, it's definitely, there will be some athletes are going to come out of this significantly better than they went into it. And it'll be cool to see that.
Come out significantly worse.
Oh yeah. One of the hardest transitions you go through as a student athlete when you stop having that daily practice or daily accountability where you're physically seeing your coach is like, okay, no one's looking. What can you get done now?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to a common theme that John Wooden said, and I use it every year. The measure of a man is what you do when no one's watching you. So that's really applicable right now.
I totally agree. All right, Coach. So this is an exciting question. We've had a lot of great answers. Coach Page gave us the inside line on Money Heist. Coach Carbone also supported that. What are you watching during these wild times? Like, what is the show that you found yourself really into?
I'm now watching Bosch on Amazon Prime. My buddy's a DA, and he said I'd love it, so I watched it. It's a good show, so I've enjoyed Bosch.
I think I've heard about that one. I'll have to check that out. Are you picking up any skills, Coach? I mean, other than becoming a Zoom master, is there any? Have you taught yourself? Crochet? Are you whittling? Are you cutting down trees? What are you doing with your free time?
I have cut down some trees and doing some concrete work around the house, but I'm running out of home projects to do. So
awesome. Well, Coach Kittle, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate your time, and we really hope to see you guys back out on the field sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. So do we.